So our main topic today will be looking at what is diversity and how does it work. And before we go into that, I want us to quickly look at some issues that transpired in the country over the past few days. Uh, I learned that I read on the paper that Professor Atahiru Jega has been appointed as the special advisor on livestock reform. And I wonder if that would be a proper portfolio for such a person, considering that Professor Atahiru Jeda is a political science professor. Let's work on the assumption that he may have had some experiences in reforms and uh, in management. But one would expect that there are people that are more qualified that actually hold degrees and experiences in livestock management, in veterinary medicine, in livestock extension, that would have been in a better position to look and advise the president on that proposed reform. So it just goes a long way to show how we run the country in an upside down position. We're looking at a situation now where a round peg is being put in a square hole. No matter how you try to, it won't fit properly. It may go in, it may not fit in properly. So I think there are a lot of professors or people with experience in livestock, in veterinary medicine, in livestock uh, breeding, or in livestock extension that would have been in a better position to be appointed into that office of an advisor instead of appointing a political science professor. The issue of the Natasha Akpofi issue with the National Assembly. The issue actually brought out some rascalities that is uh, located in that so-called hollow chamber, the red chamber. And it's a place where one would expect that the rule of law will apply. But unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be so. Uh, I can't see a situation where one person that is supposed to be an accused becomes the jury and at the same time the judge. So it's a very difficult position. One would expect that when a principal officer is accused of something, the right thing to do is for the principal officer to set himself aside and probably allow the number two person or other members to preside over the affair. But in our case, the accused is the juror, is the judge. And even despite the fact that the court has asked that there should be a stay of execution of whatever further action that is to be taken, yet they went ahead to suspend the Senator Akpoti. Suspending Senator Akpoti wasn't really an issue for me. But the thing is, if you have to suspend her for that long, in other words, you are denying her constituency the opportunity to be represented in that hollow chamber. And I also wonder too whether 6 months suspension is legal based on previous ruling on that matter. So it's a place where people of the same mind doing the same thing will want to support each other because that is what they do. There were two issues that I saw Akpoti raised: how they manage the constituency fund and the sexual harassment. And if you go by what some of the ex senators they say, that if you are a beautiful woman, you are most likely to be uh, looked at. So, how do you think responsible people, people that are supposed to be people of authority, people that are supposed to be respected in the community, how do you see them being attracted to beautiful women? More so when they know that the beautiful women are married. So it goes a long way to show the kind of thing that happens in the so-called National Assembly. So we just use that as a segue. Our topic today is on diversity. So when we talk about diversity, we are referring to the difference that exists between groups of people within a particular setting. So what differentiates us as individuals? So diversity acknowledges and values our uniqueness as individual and groups in the society. Why is diversity so important? It is so important because it encourages us to be innovative and creative, because it brings people from different background, different society, different community, different social strata to bring their ideas together to solve a problem. So it is very, very important in a solving of problem. So diversity also enhances social harmony. It helps to bring the gap between us by promoting understanding, promoting tolerance among ourselves, and also to create respect among individual or different groups. So when we look at it from that perspective, it enables us not to see ourselves as I am a Muslim, or I am a Christian, or I am from the north, I'm from the east, but it enables us to come together as a people to respect ourselves, to work together, and not to dominate or assuming to dominate one part or the other. You know, diversity also boosts our economic growth. As we are different, even so, our skills and talents are different. So, in a diverse workplace, the society actually benefits because it enables us to bring different kinds of talents and different kinds of skills into play. So it is important for us to know that with diversity, we are bringing all manner of knowledge that will benefit us as a people, as a country. So diversity also strengthens our democracy and inclusion. So what does that? It enables us to have a proper representation. It gives all of us equal opportunity. So there are many ways we are different. But for the purpose of this, our topic today, because we are aligning it to how it applies to us in Nigeria and some other countries of Africa. So from that perspective, we'll be looking at it from the ethnic, religious, and socio-economic perspective. These perspectives are very important because they are mainly what the corrupt political class uses this diversity, our differences, to exploit us, thereby dividing and setting up ourselves against each other. So this is not just a Nigeria issue alone. It is a thing that is very, very common in Africa. Africa countries like Kenya, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Cote d'Ivoire use diversity to manipulate their citizens. So, why is Africa using diversity to propagate bad governance? Considering the fact that we have talked about the benefits that the diversity is supposed to provide for us. So, do you know that diversity is a very powerful asset? But in some cases, it is being manipulated by our leaders to maintain themselves in governance and for them to be able to propagate bad governance. Many African politicians exploit economic, ethnic, and religious divisions to gain and retain power. Instead of promoting unity, they use their identity politics to mobilize support, often leading to favoritism, marginalization, hate, and even conflict. So it is not uncommon for them to use identity politics. Putting the Igbos against the Hausas, putting the Yorubas against the Fulanis, or putting the Idoman against the Benin people, all in a way to divide and rule, to weaken the national cohesion and distract from the real purpose of governance, diversity, as a tool in electoral manipulations. In some countries, diversity is used as a tool for rigging. How do they do it? The politicians will use ethnic and religious loyalty, discouraging issue-based voting. Instead, prefer to use religion, ethnicity. This leads to leaders being elected based on identity rather than competence. In other words, they manipulate the system such that we begin to see them as representing us. A northern politician wants the northerners to see him as somebody that is representing the north. A southern politician wants to manipulate the system to see the southerners as somebody representing them. In other words, they bring the issue of identity politics rather than the competence. In the process, they end up perpetuating poor leadership and weak institutions. Diversity in wealth and social status influences electoral outcome. So, how does this happen? The corrupt politicians often target the poor people. That is where the vote buying comes in. That is where the palliative comes in. The corrupt politicians often target the poorer population with promises of economic empowerment. What is the economic empowerment? 1,000, 2,000 to vote for them. So, when they have succeeded in cornering the poorer populations to accept their Greek gift, they end up funding and protecting their business interest. So some politicians exploit poverty through vote buying, offering of money or food in exchange for their vote. Why they do that? They use the diversity, the differences amongst us, to weaken our national identity, such that every one of us becomes suspicious of each other. The Hausa man doesn't want to trust the Igbo man. The Igbo man doesn't want to trust the Yoruba man. The Ido man doesn't want to trust the Urobos. Just because our so-called leaders are making us becoming suspicious of each other. So they use this diversity to create deep division and instability, as seen in some countries oftentimes. So it is not uncommon that in some countries you have what they call the separatist movement, or in some countries, because people are using this diversity to manipulate the people, create ethnic conflict. So leaders using these tensions as excuse to avoid accountability. They focus on maintaining power rather than solving the pressing issue of electricity, the pressing issue of fresh water, the pressing issue of good health care, the pressing issue of good education, the pressing issue of providing food for all, the pressing issue of developing and diversifying the economy. So these are ways the elite, the politicians, use diversity to make us not to be united. They use this way the diversity that was supposed to be a blessing, that was supposed to be a source of strength, that was supposed to be a source of innovation and creativity, is less desired because the leaders, the so-called leaders, are using it in a manipulative form to pull us apart so that they can begin and also continue to propagate their bad governance. So, in conclusion, I want to say that Africa's diversity is supposed to be a strength, but we always misuse it. And because we always misuse it, it has enabled bad governance. So, where lies the solution? The solution is for us to begin to foster national unity, strengthen institutions, and holding leaders accountable. So how do we do this? We need to understand the tricks they play on us. We need to understand the tricks they play on us, such as their divide and rule approach, such as making ourselves feel they are sympathetic to our cause by providing the so-called palliative, by providing money to buy our votes. By doing those things that does not uplift the standard of the country, that does not uplift the standard of the people. So we need to understand how we have to strengthen our unity. There is the need for us to love ourselves. There is the need for us to love ourselves. It doesn't matter whether I am from Edo, or you are from Enugu, or you are from Katsina, or you are from Jigawa. As long as we are Nigerians, we all have a purpose. We all have different endowments that when we pull together, we will be able to change our own status for the better. But they know that when we know what they know, when we know that it is our right to do the right thing, then I would begin to do it, then we are in the process of taking over. We are in the process of taking charge. The reason why I do come with topics like this is for us to understand the reason why they are able to play on our intelligence, because they are capitalizing on our ignorance to do what they are doing. You know, in some countries where things, the rule of law is applicable, when things happen, you know, the person in government to whom such a thing happened to is so saddened, so destroyed, to the extent that he will see himself as having put his name, his party, his community, his electorate in disrepute. In the process, the person will choose to resign. But in Nigeria, even if you catch a honorable in an armed robbery, he will prefer to defend it to the last. His co-conspirators in the assembly are ready to defend him to the end. And because they've snatched a lot of money they've stolen from us, they are able to buy justice. They are able to buy whatever. And at the end of the day, they just take the position of an innocent person, whereas they were actually the culprit. So many African countries have struggled with this election or manipulation of governance using diversity as a tool for division rather than for uniting us. So why diversity should be a strength, political elites often exploit it to maintain power. So how do we strengthen our democratic institutions? How do we promote issue-based politics? How do we enforce fair electoral practices? How do we make all this the norm? How do we make all this what our guiding principles are? It all depends on how we look at ourselves, on how we look at what is happening, on how we look at our role in turning the country, our role in turning Africa. Like I used to say, it is our own responsibility to turn this country around. The so-called people that are being oppressed are the ones that are in a better position to turn the country around. If you wait for the oppressors, they will never do it. They know the strategy they have. They have the money. They have the skills. They believe we don't know. They control the media. So they have all manner of apparatus to manipulate the system, principally based on the fact that they think we are ignorant. And in fairness, most of us also exhibit that ignorance. But it is time for us to have a new approach. Let us use our diversity as our strength to defeat these bad politicians. These people that will not provide us good education. These people that will not provide us electricity. That will not provide us good health care. That will not provide us water. That will not provide us opportunity to be gainfully employed. So I would want to close here by saying, always see your fellow Nigerians, your fellow Africans as one. Always see them as one. Don't allow these people whose interest is to destroy our life, to destroy our future, let us not always side with them. Let us side by ourselves so that we are able to turn the table against them such that we can continue to breathe. Their legs is constantly on our neck. We can't breathe because all that is required for us to breathe, all that is needed for us to breathe, they have captured them. Until we are able to force them to relinquish those things, it will be difficult. But I know with all of us thinking, coming together, pulling together, we will be victorious in turning the affairs of this country in the right direction.